Welcome back to High School Backups Podcast. My name is Jake. I'm here with Austin and Kyle, and today we're going to do another mock draft video for you. We'll try to make this a more realistic one. The last time we did it, we had a lot of trades going on. Make sure to like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on socials, High School Backups at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All right, let's get right into it. Guys, first things first, it's almost a guarantee that the Bears trade out of this first round pick. The last time we did this, we had them trading with the Indianapolis Colts, moving all the way up from 4 to 1 to nab their quarterback. This time, we're going to have them trading with the Oakland Raiders, who I think could get very aggressive.
Vegas made it. Whoa.
Oh, did I say Oakland? I meant Vegas.
Disrespect them like that.
It's a dog. I miss the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to get aggressive. This is not going to actually be. This is going to cost 2 first-round picks at the very least this year and next year, and probably some extra additional compensation on top of that. But for the sake of making this trade go through in the Pro Football Network thing, we're just going to swap first-round picks. That's all that matters here. The Raiders are moving up to get their guy. It's going to be Bryce Young, who I believe is the best quarterback in the class. I mean, you could go C.J. Stroud there. The Raiders and the Colts have both been connected to Will Levis. I think Anthony Richardson could be in play there, but I'm going to go Bryce Young. Thoughts, boys?
I don't know. Bryce Young is the one. I'll be honest. I'm not opposed to the team you use because I do think they will be aggressive. I'm just surprised they went Bryce Young.
I mean, he's the best quarterback in the class, and as long as you're not worried about his frame, which is really the biggest issue that anybody could talk about with Bryce Young, you take him number 1. C.J. Stroud's also in play there. Will Levis, less so. And if you really like Anthony Richardson, also less so. Anthony Richardson's a high upside guy, but he's not getting drafted first overall. And the Raiders are going to need a quarterback. So
I was gonna say, if you want Anthony Richardson, you don't trade up to get him. You don't unless you're like the Giants or the.
Or the Giants.
The Giants, the Giants.
The Giants are probably one of the very few teams that would trade up. But
yes,
I mean, I like the Bryce Young pick. I think it's the right pick for the Raiders, especially with Devontae. Bryce Young's really good on timing routes, really good from the pocket. Even at a small frame, he'll be able to find and run with timing. And that's what the Raiders really do. They do that well. Timing routes with Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and Devontae Adams would all benefit Bryce Young very early, plus having the run game of Josh Jacobs. They do need to beef up their offensive line, which I think they'll try to do this offseason. But for now, they're going number 1 at Bryce Young. Moving on to the Houston Texans, who are quarterback needy. Again, the last time we did a mock draft video, we had them going team building wise. I don't think that's actually what they're going to do. Realistically, they're taking a quarterback at number 2, and it's going to be C.J. Stroud. I don't think it can be anybody else unless they're really high on Will Levis, which it hasn't seemed like they are. There's no reports coming out of Houston that they're high on Levis. It's either been Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. So we're going to go to C.J. Stroud there.
Yeah, I see that happening.
I'm fine with that. I think that makes the most sense for them.
I think regardless what happens above them, Houston will take a quarterback at 2. I don't think they are needing to trade up at all for the 1, because regardless what happens with the first overall pick, they'll either get C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, which is an ideal situation for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're going to start pat at 2. There's no reason for them to trade up to 1 at all. I mean, it would cost them, unless they really like one or the other. Like, if they really prefer one or the other, there's no reason for them to do that. The Cardinals at 3, honestly, I mean, I think I've mocked them with Will Anderson Jr. too many times, but I'm still going to do it because I think they need edge help more than they need interior rush help. And Will Anderson Jr. is the best edge rusher in the class. He might be the best player in the class, and the Cardinals are salivating getting him at 3.
No Jalen Carter still in the top 3 here. You know, a lot of people are projecting him to go first overall too, Jake. So
if it's the Bears and they stand pat, yeah, they could definitely take Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying, like, besides that, like, even a team trading up to get Jalen Carter, so him still.
Nobody's trading up to get Jalen Carter. If you're trading up to 1, it's to get a quarterback.
I honestly think that the Bears will trade down to like 3 or 4, depending on who they end up trading with. You know, it could be, here we're obviously saying it's going to be what, to 6, right? With
7.
or 7. That's right, 7 with Oakland. Now you got me saying
Vegas.
Oakland, Las
It's
Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Come on, people.
But yeah, I think
No,
honestly they'll get him if they trade. If I'm them, I'm trying to trade down to like 4. Hopefully, like maybe
Yeah.
Colts are going to trade up with them because I think they get Carter there.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened last mock draft anyway, is that they traded down to 4 with the Colts and picked up Jalen Carter at 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the Colts are sitting here now wondering what they're going to do because the top 2 quarterbacks are off the board. They sat pat. They figured they could get their guy. The Colts are taking Will Levis at 4, and they need a quarterback. We all know they need a quarterback. It's the biggest need on their football team. They'll need a wide receiver to complement Will Levis, but they're taking Will Levis at 4.
So you like Levis more than Richardson?
It depends. I know that the Colts like Levis more than Richardson. Jim Irsay is in love with Will Levis. Actually.
I mean, he is good.
I think Will Levis is better than Richardson anyway. To me, he is the better quarterback out of those 2.
I think if you're gonna
at least
ask
for
me,
right now, at least for right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Richardson has a higher upside than Will Levis. I think both of them have all of the tools necessary. Richardson's a little bit better of an athlete. Honestly, Will Levis has a strong arm. He's great from the pocket. He has the escapability. He can run. Richardson's just better at the running aspect of it, and both of them have cannons.
Yeah, I think that's, I think, yeah, I don't have any problem with Levis going there. I think he's going to be the more polished quarterback to come out.
Yeah, no,
So-
he's more polished right now, and honestly, I have a problem with Levis going this high because he shouldn't be going this high, but he's going to because all of these teams are quarterback needy. Moving on to the Seahawks at 5, you have Jalen Carter sitting on the board, you have Miles Murphy and Tyree Wilson. You're essentially just figuring out where you want to go defensively here. I don't think they need to take a quarterback. Their offense is kind of set. It's going to be Jalen Carter at 5. Seattle is thanking their stars that he fell this far. And honestly, they'll be very, very happy getting Jalen Carter at 5.
Who wouldn't be happy getting Jalen Carter at 5?
If he's there at 5, they also have to take him. But it wouldn't. They either take him or I think depending on again if he's there, obviously you got to take him. But after that, I think you would take Lucas Van Ness. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Lucas Van Ness.
Lucas Van Ness. He's a rotational pass rusher. He's been getting first round mocks, which has been a little bit surprising to me because he's so specialized. He's not an every down lineman, but I do understand where you're going with that.
I'm surprised you even brought him. I've seen him going up late.
I see him top 10. I've seen him top 10.
He's skyrocketing. Early on, you didn't see him in any mock drafts at all, and all of a sudden, over the last month, he's been mocked to Chicago, Seattle, and Atlanta.
Yep.
Just out of nowhere.
Mel Kiper has him going to Houston at 12. So
that makes a lot of sense.
I never heard of him until you just threw his name out, Austin. So not heard of him, but not heard of him in the first round until you threw out his name right now. So this is.
It's literally been something within the last month that he's just popped up in first round mocks. And
he was not there earlier.
Honestly, we could go find him at some point. I may put him in this mock draft. I actually thought about it. I think he'll probably go in the mid to probably the late teens, early 20s if that's the case. I don't think he's a top 10 pass rusher. I could be wrong, but
I'm curious how he'll do in the combine.
That's really what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, I don't make a lot of my decisions on this stuff until I see combine.
Yeah, and go ahead, Austin.
No, I just think of that. Look at Brock Purdy. Dude was showed out at the combine. Nobody picked him. Dude goes Mr. Irrelevant, last pick, and if you go back and watch his tape, I loved him coming out. I was kind of hoping the Pats were going to take him later rounds. Obviously, I knew he was going to be there, but I did not expect him to go all the way to the last pick. I was surprised. But not that I thought he was going to be what he is already. Nobody thought that. But I'm just saying, I liked him coming out.
Nobody thought that Brock Purdy was really going to be a starting caliber quarterback. We're going to move on to the Lions at 6. I think this could be a plethora of positions, all of them on defense. I believe that the Lions have a second first-round pick at 18. So, honestly, I think they're going to address something that they really need to address, which is the interior defensive pass rush. I think this is where Brian Bresee goes. With Miles Murphy on the board, it could be a Miles Murphy pick. With Tyree Wilson on the board, Tyree Wilson could go there. It could be any one of these corners: Joey Porter, Cam Smith, Keely Ringo, and or Christian Gonzalez. But we're gonna go Brian Bresee here.
I did not see that coming.
That's
I'll be
yeah. I
honest.
mean,
I did not see that coming.
He fits the Dan Campbell mold, dude.
I was fully expecting you to say Tyree Wilson. or
That
Miles Murphy.
is also a Dan Campbell guy, Tyree Wilson, big, athletic, just kind of a freak of nature. I really like Brian Bresee. I think he's gonna fly up boards after a really great combine performance. I don't think he's as good as Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, but I think over time he can grow into a player that's going to be really, really good for the Lions.
Tell you right now, Mel Kiper doesn't have him in his mock draft for the first round.
I don't care what Mel Kiper says.
I'm just saying.
If that's any consolation, I don't really care what Mel Kiper has to say. The amount of times he's been so wildly incorrect, I don't care.
Yep.
And I'm not saying I'm going to be any more accurate, but Mel Kiper has been so wildly incorrect so many times that I do not care what he has to say.
I mean, we'd have to go back to your mock drafts last year, but I don't think you were too far off on a lot of those. So
No, and I mean, obviously this is an inexact science. People don't really like... You have to be inside the head of the GM or in the war room to actually know what's going to happen. But normally, I mean, you can pick trends, see what's up, see what teams need. Moving to the Bears at 7, speaking of team needs, let's just get this off the board. They're going Quentin Johnston from TCU. They need a big, fast, strong wide receiver for Justin Fields to throw the ball to. Quentin Johnston is my wide receiver one in the class. He's 6'4", 215, and runs a 4.40. Enough said.
I'm surprised he's your one.
I mean,
Well, not like surprise, but
I mean, if this is a different class of receivers, he might not be. But I don't I'm not necessarily in love with this wide receiver class. Like, I'm just not.
I mean, I like that guy from Ohio State. What is it?
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, because
I like him too. He's my
actually
favorite.
had more yards and was more of the main target when who's the guy who came out last year?
Chris Olave.
Thank you. When Chris Olave was there, when they were both there. It was actually more Njave.
Smith and Jigba was hurt this year, which hurt his draft stock, and because of that health concerns, people don't necessarily have him as high on boards. If he shows out at the combine, this absolutely could be a Jackson Smith and Jigba pick. And this is more of a product of where they landed at 7. If they're at 4, I think they're definitely taking Jalen Carter or Will Anderson Jr. if he gets there. Moving to the Falcons at 8, this could be a plethora of moves. This could be wide receiver. This could be edge.
Lot.
This could be corner. Even with A.J. Terrell, they need somebody on the opposite side. This is where Miles Murphy's going to go. I think they need to bolster their defense. I think their defense has been atrocious. They have a young quarterback in Desmond Ridder who they're hoping develops. I don't necessarily believe in Desmond Ridder. I don't love him. I think he was quarterback 6 on my boards last year. I really forget. But he had fallen down significantly. Miles Murphy's a great edge rusher, athletic. Needs to develop, but still really good, strong, athletic. Can develop into a really good pass rusher in the league.
I don't think the Falcons can really go wrong with who they pick at this spot. Like, the Falcons need so much on their team that just no matter what position they decide they want in here is their option. Like, they could easily go defensive end. They could even switch to offensive tackle if they really want to, because Peters Franowski is still around. Like, they could even, if they really realistically don't like Desmond Ridder, they could even go quarterback and take Anthony Richardson here as well. Like, they have so many different options. It just depends what they want to focus on, and being at this spot, I think, is really good for them because they just have so many needs.
No, that's a fact. I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead, Austin.
I just thinking even they could go OT here as well, just to make sure that Desmond Ridder has the time. I don't remember, is Broderick Jones off your? Has he been picked yet? I don't.
No. Broderick Jones, I have mocked in the mid to late first round.
Paris Johnson you could have him, Paris Johnson. Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. Is like you could even say that. Go, hey, we've got a great tight end. Wasn't utilized well last year, but if you got him, you got Drake London. At some point get a good back to go along with that in this draft. I know they've got Cordell Patterson, stuff like that, but he's older anyways. He's not a true running back. Like, go out there and get, hey, if you could get, who's the guy from Texas? Bajors.
Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson. That's what I don't know. I can't pronounce these names. Anyways, Bijan. If you have him, get him in there after you've got either one of these guys, Paris Johnson or Broderick. I think that would be really good. Solidify that OT position. Get a good offensive line going and protect not only this young quarterback, but maybe a young running back. And now you've got an offense that could be something to reckon with.
No, and I understand that. I just felt like they really needed to bolster their defense. Their defense hasn't been good. Like their offense has the ability to be decent, especially with Arthur Smith as their head coach. I'm gonna move to the Panthers at 9. We've gone through this a little bit slowly. We're gonna pick it up a little bit. The Panthers at 9, honestly, this is going to come as a surprise to everybody, but Frank Reich's going to go get his quarterback. Sam Darnold isn't going to cut it. They're taking Anthony Richardson at 9.
I think it's that that out of there.
No, I think that's good.
I think that's a good decision. I don't know.
The problem is that Anthony
torn,
Richardson's talent right now is second round. His upside being, you could get Cam Newton out of him is definitely worth the pick. But his floor is so low that taking this here is a huge risk. Like, huge risk.
Who'd they draft last year?
They didn't draft anybody. They picked up Baker and... Matt Corral. Sorry.
Thank you. I was like, they definitely drafted someone. So
They did.
They took him in the 3rd round, dude. That doesn't tell me that they think he's a long-term solution.
No, but Brock Purdy wasn't a long-term solution either for the Niners.
I'm not convinced that Brock Purdy's the long-term solution for the 49ers anyway, but especially after tearing his UCL, that's going to really take...
That's a big difference.
That really hurts. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, don't get me wrong, I loved Brock Purdy in the storyline, but I'm not convinced he's the long-term starter. I hope he gets better. Don't get me wrong, I hope he returns to full form after tearing his UCL, but that's tough. We're going to move to the Eagles at 10. This could be, again, a number of different things. I think they need to bolster their secondary. And that being said, I think it's going to be one of the corners on the board. And I mean, it could be any one of these top 4, Joey Porter Jr., Cam Smith, Keely Ringo, or Christian Gonzalez. I think they're going to go height, weight, speed. I think they're going to go Cam Smith out of South Carolina. Essentially, his NFL comp is his former teammate J.C. Horn. And I really like the tape on Cam Smith, and I think bolstering their secondary is a really good idea for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think
I agree with that.
Wrong with that. Yeah.
I think that's the best for them, especially, you're going to a Super Bowl this year. You've got that pick. If you're an Eagles fan, you're happy about this, especially if you can bolster that secondary and make next year even more scary.
And I'm going to move on to the Titans very quickly. This team needs offensive line help like nobody's business. They're happy that Paris Johnson Jr., Peter Skoronski, and Broderick Jones are all on the board. Broderick Jones is probably the best run blocker of the 3. I would say the strongest of the 3. Peter Skoronski is the more fundamental guy, while Paris Johnson is kind of a combination of both. Peter Skoronski kind of seems like a guard to me, so I don't think he's going to go this high. I think a lot of people have him mocked this high. I think NFL teams are going to view him more as a guard than a tackle. And I think Paris Johnson Jr. is the best tackle on the board. I'm going to give them Paris Johnson Jr., but that could be Broderick Jones or Peter Skoronski.
Yeah, I think that's their decision. I think that's the smart decision here. They do need offensive line help drastically, so good call.
Yep.
All right. I think everybody's going to be surprised by what I'm going to do next with the Houston Texans. DeMeco Ryan. No. That would be hilarious, but no. This team just added DeMeco Ryans as their head coach. He's a defensive guy. Their defense needs to be bolstered. I think they're going to take a guy that is essentially a Swiss Army knife and a carbon copy paste of Isaiah Simmons, except a little bit lighter. I think they're going to take Trenton Simpson at 12. You can use him in the slot. You can use him as an outside or inside linebacker. You can use him as an overhang defender. I really like Trenton Simpson, and I think it bolsters their defense in a significant way. The ability to move him around and disguise him in the defense is only going to add to that. So that's where I'm going with that pick.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree. That is interesting.
I don't think it's a terrible pick. I just don't know if they're going to... I don't know if they'll go there, but...
It's a bold pick.
Definitely.
It's a very Houston pick.
It's a very Houston pick.
Okay, all right. Coming from a Giants fan.
I'm not saying we're any better. Listen, we're over 2 in the past 2 years on wide receivers. So listen,
Oh man. Well,
one of them is playing in the freaking Super Bowl, but that's besides the point.
I mean,
Moving on.
Not because of him.
No, that's true.
the real question moving to the Jets is whether they want to spend a draft pick on the positions of need at 13, because their two biggest positions of need are guard and safety. And I could see them taking Brian Branch here, which is what I'm gonna do. But I don't know if they want to spend this high of a pick on a safety / nickel corner. Brian Branch again adds a versatility to his game. He can play anywhere in the defensive backfield. You'd rather not have him on the boundary, but he can do it. He's normally an overhang defender or a nickel corner. And he comes up and plays the run really well. So that's a good pick for them at 13, I think. But it really depends on whether they want to take a safety at 13.
Yeah, I don't think it's the. I think it's a bold decision for the Jets, but I don't think it's necessarily a wrong one.
No, I think it's smart.
Yeah.
I mean, this all depends on them getting their quarterback, too. If they don't get a quarterback in the
Yeah.
trade market or in free agency, they could be really aggressive in moving up to get one. The
That
Patriots
is-
at
that is
14. I'm going to start by saying this right now. I said it in the last mock. The Patriots have never traded down when they had a 15th overall pick or higher, and they're not going to start today. They're going to be taking a corner, Christian Gonzalez, to up the defensive backfield. Honestly, they need a bona fide CB1, and they need to take one high, someone who has talent. Christian Gonzalez is another height, weight, speed guy, much like Cam Smith, who can go out there, make plays, ball hawk, and absolutely cover anybody on the field. I'm going to take Christian Gonzalez there. I think it's the right pick for the Patriots.
I think if he's sitting there, yeah, especially if, because I mean, some mocks people have Brian Branch going to them,
Which is another
if
one I
he's
would
sitting
like.
there, yeah, if he's sitting there, I'd be like, ooh, especially if they're both sitting there, that'd be really hard. But if Brian Branch is already off, and there's no, I mean, some of the wide receivers there you could think about taking, but they just took them. I don't think they need to take a wide receiver this high, unless they had like somebody that they really thought was going to be a star. But you know what? I'd rather them take wide receivers in the second round because I don't trust them to get wide receivers, to be honest. Although I do like that.
Not in the first
I like this
round,
pick.
dude.
Yeah, I like this pick.
I don't hate this pick. I do think the position value is smart. They do need a number one corner, especially if Jonathan Jones does go somewhere else. But yeah, I don't hate the decision.
And I'm about to make the most Green Bay Packers pick ever. Where is it? I saw
Taking a quarterback.
No. The Packers at 15 will be taking Lucas Van Ness.
Dude,
Oh, interesting.
why, dude?
First and
I don't-
foremost, they need an edge rusher, and this team never invests in their offense in the first round. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
Well, the Packers are dumb, so I could totally see them taking a quarterback here. That would
Well, it all
absolutely be
depends on what
hilarious.
happens with Rodgers.
There's
too.
no way he's coming back. Right?
No,
There's
they'll be
shot.
trading him for a
There's no
first-round pick
shot.
somewhere.
But
Somebody
that's
will
what I
trade
mean.
him.
Is
Yeah.
like what happens? What do they get for him and all that kind of stuff? And where does he go? Because yeah, I don't see him coming back. But that does change a lot of this.
Oh, man. Alrighty. We're going to move on to the Washington Commanders at 16. This is another place where you just need cornerback help really bad. We're going to go with, where is he? We're actually going to go with Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois.
Okay, there he is.
You could have gone Joey Porter, Keely Ringo, or Clark Phillips there as well. I've also seen Emmanuel Forbes get mocked into the first round at around this spot as well. Hold on, give me a second.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry
Bless
about that. But I like Devin Witherspoon. I think he's a hard-hitting corner. He can get up in your face. He'll press you. He'll do all the right things. Keely Ringo is falling down my board significantly, especially after the college football playoff. So don't be surprised to not see him go. But I really like Devin Witherspoon at 16. And moving right into the Steelers, you guys can comment on both very, very quickly, but this is another cornerback spot, which is why I'm just kind of like, let's move. They're going to go Joey Porter Jr. His father played for him. I really love Joey Porter Jr. I think he's a great corner. And they're just going to add a former player's son to the football team.
I honestly think they should go OT.
Offensive tackle would also be smart. You're correct.
You got, I think, Anton Harris is still there.
You've
Harrison?
got Skoronski, Jones, and Anton Harrison also on the board.
So, with that sitting there, if Anton Harris is there, I think that's what I've seen a lot of people mock them at. I think both are a good pick. I think that might be the better pick just because you've got the young quarterback and you still have Najee Harris. And if you can keep him on his feet, cutting through that hole, and he looks like rookie him, then you got something. So
No, that's a fair statement. I mean, again, that could be a lineman pick. That would be something that the Steelers would do, especially a Skoronski pick moving into guard. That'd be something that they would absolutely do. I just think corner's a more premier position and a position of need.
Yeah, I don't hate the decision to go corner here, especially with Joey Porter being a Steeler already. And, you know, I think that connection will help with the son being there. So, you know, not a terrible decision. Offensive tackle does make sense for them, especially if they want to try and run with Kenny Pickett as their quarterback. They do need to have that protection there. I'm not sure if Kenny Pickett really is the answer, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what they feel about that.
No, I mean, I think they're going to invest in Kenny Pickett a little bit. I don't know if it's through the draft here. I think they'll probably want to go out and sign established linemen at that point. Developing offensive linemen is not the easiest thing in the world. Moving to 18 in the Lions, I mean, I've said it multiple times. This is the year the Lions just straight up draft defense. If they wanted to, they could go Tyree Wilson here. They added Brian Bresee. I don't think they necessarily need to add another pass rusher. I think this is going to be Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M. He's a 6'4", 205-pound safety who reminds me a lot of Cam Chancellor. Will absolutely thump anybody and can cover over the top, and I think that's something that the Lions would love to see in a safety and something they need.
Yeah, good pick.
yeah,
Speaking of Tyree Wilson here, that's where the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to go. Tyree Wilson's going to fall to 19 to the Bucks. They need edge help. Their team is aging on defense. I think it's rebuild time in Tampa Bay. I don't think they're going to go out and get a veteran. I think they're going to try to trade off some assets and start moving toward a rebuild.
Again, good pick. I do see them rebuilding fairly soon. I could see them taking a quarterback at some point in the near future because I don't know if they have faith in Kyle Trask. I'm not sure it's going to be this year. I think they're going to try and see what he has to offer. But definitely, I think best player available is kind of where Tampa Bay is going to go.
That's a fact. The Seahawks at 20, I know they need offensive line help. They already took Jalen Carter on the defensive side of the ball. I think this is where Peter Skoronski actually does go. I think they'll slide him into guard and continue to build their offensive line. They're pretty set at tackle after drafting offensive line in the last couple drafts. But sliding in and getting a guard for that run game is going to be huge for them. And Peter Skoronski is one of the best run blockers in the class. So
I'm surprised he fell this. I'm really shocked he fell this low, I'll be honest.
I don't think people are going to fall in love with this offensive line class. I'm not going to lie to you.
Which is fair, you know, offensive line are hard to develop. It does take time. Giants are seeing that first-handed this year after their draft last year. You know, it is going to take time to develop offensive lineman talent. So I see what you're saying. I just am surprised he fell this low.
Moving right into the Chargers, they need offensive line help badly. Let's just give them Broderick Jones and not question anything else about it. They could go a corner here, especially since J.C. Jackson looks like he wants out. I'm gonna go with Broderick Jones. I think they need offensive line help more than anything, and their entire existence right now should be helping Justin Herbert. And going and getting Kellen Moore was a step in the right direction. Adding to the offensive line to help protect Justin Herbert will be another step in the right direction. We all know that the Ravens need wide receiver help. I see Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith, and Jigba on the board. Kayshon Boutte and Josh Downs are all here. I'm going to go with Jordan Addison. I think he is a silky smooth route runner who adds 4.38 speed to your team, 4.4 speed. And I think that's something that Lamar Jackson, if he's still there, will be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, smart decision. Ravens really need that wide receiver one to help badly. Whether or not Lamar is there or not, it doesn't matter. They need somebody because, man, do they need a wide receiver one.
If he's sitting there, they can't not take him.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Now, the Vikings could do a plethora of things. I don't think this team is complete. They're looking to move off Adam Thielen. They may bring in a wide receiver. They may. TJ Hawkinson's still got another year left on his deal, right?
I think so.
I
yeah.
think
He's
so,
got
yeah.
two. Okay.
I think we discussed that either in the episode or last mock draft. I think we
They
figured that out.
they need corner, they need safety, they need defense in general. For some reason, this site has wide receiver listed as their number one priority and tight end second. I don't think that's true. I think it's these three: cornerback, edge, and linebacker. And looking at the pieces that are still on the board, you have Keely Ringo here, you have Clark Phillips here, you have Emmanuel Forbes here. Again, Keely Ringo is falling down this board for me. Clark Phillips is a slot corner. You have to take the best boundary corner on the board, and I think that's Emmanuel Forbes.
That is the decision I think needs to be made. If you didn't say Emmanuel Forbes, I was going to throw a riot and a tantrum. Because he is to me, he is the best option for the Vikings here, especially to be opposite end of Patrick Peterson.
Like, I just think there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you draft Keely Ringo. I don't love it. I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. But Emmanuel Forbes is probably the best corner on the board, if I'm being very honest about it.
Yeah, I think Ringo's a gamble. I think he's got some upside. I think he's going to be good, potentially. But I think I agree with you. I think Forbes is better at this point, at least.
Correct.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are up next, and this is where O'Cyrus Torrence is going to go. I really like O'Cyrus Torrence. The Jags need a guard, and that is he's the best guard in the class, unless you count Peter Skoronski as a guard, which I did earlier with the Seahawks. But with guard help, Travis Etienne's going to be able to find better run lanes. O'Cyrus Torrence is an absolute mauler. I think he's 340 pounds, and he can pass block for Trevor Lawrence. You're investing in your two stars, which are Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne at this point.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see the Jaguars maybe taking a tight end unless they can sign Evan Ingram again because he is only on a 1-year deal.
I think he's going to want to be back. I think he had a lot of fun playing in Jacksonville.
Not only did he have fun playing in Jacksonville, he really proved all the haters wrong that he's actually a good tight end. Because
are you talking about yourself, Kyle?
Yes.
Only the Giants fans.
Okay, it's not just Giants fans. There are like a lot of.
Oh,
people
sorry,
doubted
Giants fans
him.
and all the people that had him on fantasy.
Evan Ingram did have a lot of people doubting whether or not he should have been a first-round draft pick a few years ago. But he proved it wrong to me that he just needed the right offensive coach, right offensive talent around him.
And a good quarterback.
I think he would have done well with this team that we had, to be honest. But obviously, he didn't want to stick around and find out. He didn't want to wait. I don't blame him. No one knew coming into this year the Giants were going to be talented, so it's okay.
Speaking of the Giants, we've got them up next, Kyle. You ready?
I'm ready. If you don't go,
it's Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's Jackson Smith and Jigba. Don't even worry about it.
So, with you taking him here, I'm kind of worried just because
Giants. I thought you had Jigba going to the Ravens.
No, that was Jordan Addison.
No. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I thought you.
No, you're good. It's Jackson Smith and Jigba. The Giants need wide receiver help over anything else.
Or tight end.
No,
I mean, you could go Mayer here from Notre Dame. That's not a bad pick either.
We also need a linebacker. Linebacker to me is the biggest need on defense. We need.
You need wide receiver more than you need linebacker. I promise.
Yes,
you.
I agree. But I don't want to.
That's what I'm saying. Wide receiver or tight end.
I'm afraid to take a wide receiver in the first round just because of the last two drafts.
No,
I do love the pick because Smith and Jigba is to me the number one wide receiver here, so I'm excited for him. But I'm worried as well taking a wide receiver, but it's okay.
No, they'll be fine. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be a good wide receiver. I don't know if he's a bona fide wide receiver one, but it upgrades your team. So honestly, at that point, you just do it to upgrade your team. You probably invest in another wide receiver opposite him to make Jackson Smith and Jigba better. But getting him at 25 would be great. The Dallas Cowboys at 26. I've seen one other person do this. I was watching a Bengal mock draft video, and his reasoning behind doing this is absolutely sound, and I really liked it. The Dallas Cowboys, who are going to be losing Tony Pollard, by the way, and they have an overpaid Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield, who's essentially just a short down back at this point. They would take Bijan Robinson here. They're going to keep him in Texas and, again, upgrade their running game. Bijan Robinson is the best running back prospect we've seen since Saquon Barkley come out of the college ranks. I'm going with Bijan to the Cowboys. I know for a fact that people are going to be mad about it. I really liked Bengals' reasoning, and I think that's a wonderful pick for the Cowboys.
I mean, also, it's obviously what Jerry Jones is going to do because he always goes offense.
Literally always.
Like that's what he cares about, you know. So it's going to be
Offense
that.
wins games, but defense wins championships, and that's not
Agreed.
what
That's why they
team-
don't win championships.
I don't hate the pick. I would rather than go defense here, just because I don't want to have to deal with B.J. Robinson in the division. But I mean, I like your reasoning, Jake. So go with it.
All right. We're going to move on to the Bills. With Micah Hyde, I believe Micah Hyde's contract is up, and I don't believe they have the money to sign him and or he's retiring. Either way, they're going to need safety help. You don't know if DeMar Hamlin's going to be back, even though he played very well for you up until the unfortunate incident. I think this is going to be J.L. Skinner out of Boise State. Their safeties have always been the best two parts of that defense, and you need to invest in getting someone back there who even remotely resembles Micah Hyde, and J.L. Skinner's the best player at the safety position in this class to do it. And so I think them taking J.L. Skinner makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
I'm fine with that.
Oh, what do the Bengals do? I've had them taking edge in almost every single mock draft I've done, but that's because it's such a big need for them. I'm going to take a look at their needs real quick. Cornerback, edge, defensive tackle. Who are the defensive tackles left on board? I think that would be a really fun way of doing this. They have Gervin Dexter and Saiki Ika from Baylor. I'm going to go with Ika out of Baylor. Big dude. I think he's about 350 pounds. They need a nose tackle up front in that defense, and that's where I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I think that's the smart move.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went cornerback here.
That is also a fair statement. They could go corner.
I do think they should upgrade somebody that I won't name because
Eli
I'm naming every
Apple.
video.
I was
but
gonna say, Austin, you do not like Eli Apple or something?
no, I don't know what it is. I wonder why he didn't stay with the Giants. But anyways, I think Emmanuel Forbes here is for us is off the board. I've seen people mocking him there. So in this, I wouldn't be surprised if they went Ringo. But I think either way, whether they go cornerback or edge, they need to go defensive side of the ball here. They're fine on offense, and yeah.
Oh man, the Saints is a tough pick. This is the first mock draft we've done since they traded away Sean Payton.
Ooh.
I'm not necessarily sure where to go here. They need a lot of help in a lot of places. This is not a wonderful roster. If there were better quarterbacks on the board, I would say that, take a quarterback, but there isn't. Josh Downs out of North Carolina would make sense. Honestly, John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota, even though he plays center right now, could easily switch to guard, and I think that makes a lot of sense. People might be mad at this pick, but I'm going to go John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota, say they move him to guard, and that would fill a very nice team need for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I've seen a lot of people going Jalen Hyatt here, or Wyatt.
Hyatt, you're right. Hyatt the
Hyatt.
first time.
I don't think that's a terrible pick. I mean,
Jalen
why
Hyatt
is there
is,
some-
I really like Jalen Hyatt. I haven't seen him mocked in a lot of first rounds. I think he's more of a second to third round wide receiver in this class, and I'd take Kayshon Boutte and or Josh Downs over Jalen Hyatt, and maybe that's just me, but I think the non-sexy guard pick helps the team more than a wide receiver does at this point.
I agree. I don't think. I mean, you have Olave. You still technically have Thomas, whatever he is gonna be or whatever. I mean, at this point, maybe you try trading him away. But yeah, I think guard there. I've seen people doing Cyrus Torrance there or Osiris Torrance there. So I think guard's just a better idea because if you can get that and then next year maybe get a quarterback, now he's got a good line. If you build that for him coming into it, I think that's a better plan.
Which is a smart decision, I think.
You know you're going to be bad this year anyway, so why not just get your O-line ready for the quarterback that comes in?
Exactly.
Because who's in the options for next year in quarterback? It's
It's
guy
still
who
Andy
had
Dalton
eight-
and Jameis Winston.
No, I meant for prospects.
Oh, I mean, at this point at 29, you've got the next one is Hendon Hooker. Like the next one on the board is Hendon Hooker, who I actually don't think is the next best quarterback in the class. We'll get to that in a separate video, but honestly, again, non-sexy. Get the guard. Make sure your line's set, and maybe Jameis Winston actually does something for you. I'm gonna move to Kansas City at 30. This could be a plethora of things. With Pacheco actually emerging as an RB1, I don't think they need to go with Jahmyr Gibbs here. That would have been something that I might have mocked earlier in the year. I think it's going to be Clark Phillips III. They need corner help, and even if he's a slot guy who you don't necessarily want to play the boundary, it still upgrades your cornerback position, and I think that's something the Chiefs need to do.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see them going wide receiver here just to improve what they have.
They could. I just really think corner is probably the biggest need on the team.
Which is fair. No, it's a fair statement.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think, some people have him going OT, some people have him going edge. I see some people going safety. I mean, I've seen a lot of people all over the board with where Kansas can go with this.
I mean, let's put it this way. They're in the Super Bowl. They obviously don't need a lot of upgrades, but if you're going to upgrade at a premier position that you need upgrading at anyway.
Agreed. Yeah. That's why I think edge, cornerback is probably the place they should go. I think the OT, I think offensive line is always good just because you have that quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, and if you can keep him upright, you're going to win a lot of games. So
That's a fact.
that's always good too. So, we've seen a lot of times them get around bad defenses because they keep him upright. So whichever one they go with, just make sure you hit the pick, basically, in my opinion there.
That's a fact. And with the last pick in the first round, obviously the Dolphins lost their first round pick, so there's only 31 picks in the first round. You have the Philadelphia Eagles. These two last picks can be swapped depending on who wins the Super Bowl. I don't think it changes much. I'm going to have the Eagles taking Noah Sewell out of Oregon. I think they need linebacker help, and that will end that'll end the mock draft, boys. What are your thoughts?
I think it's good. I think the only thing is I've seen people doing Bijan Robinson there. Obviously, he's off the board here, so wouldn't be surprised if they went Gibbs from Alabama.
They could. I really like Miles Sanders. If you're going to upgrade at running back, it would have to be Bijan. I mean,
Right.
if they go with Jahmyr Gibbs, it's just an added playmaker on offense, which is always a good thing to add. I wouldn't mind a Jahmyr Gibbs pick. I also just think linebacker might be more important to them at that moment. I might be incorrect, though.
Which is fair. I don't hate the decision.
But on that note, if you like the video, please click the subscribe button, and again, make sure to follow those socials, High School Backups at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a wonderful day. Peace.
Peace.